Hello everyone, PC Moses here, back at you with another video. Today's topic we're going to be talking about home lab. So, what is a home lab, you might ask? Well, I guess that depends on your use case. Are you building robots in your basement? Are you fixing GPUs? Mixing chemicals? I'm looking at you. But doing some Walter White stuff? Yeah. We're not doing any of that today. Today we're going to be talking about a PC home lab. So, um, what is the purpose of a PC home lab? PC Home Lab is going to be kind of like a playground for you to use to um, exercise your rights, if that's the right term. Um, you can just try out new things and not be afraid to break it because you've specifically made this lab setup for you to do just that. Try new things, try out different stuff, and just get to learning. So, what are some things you need to make a PC lab? Um, in the simplest terms, you just need a computer, right? Any old computer. If you want to start right now, if you're watching this on a computer, you can literally download some virtualization software. Um, there's, let me bring it up. Let's bring it up. VMware VirtualBox. All right. So if you're starting right now on your computer, you could use a virtualization server. I have a video on this that you can go check out on my channel, and you can learn how to set this up. Some I can think of off the top of my head is VMware, and we have VirtualBox, Oracle VirtualBox to be exact. I've used this one a lot in my early career. It's very easy and straightforward to set up, and I believe my video tutorial goes through that. But if you're kind of more advanced, you could use like Proxmox virtualization or KVM QEMU for more, I guess, a more advanced hypervisor. So, what are some different use cases for your home lab? Like I talked about earlier, are you building robots? Doing stuff like that. If you are, then you probably want a soldering iron or um, bunch of robots, tools, gadgets, gizmos. But for our use case, you need a computer essentially, and that is like the simplest way we can put it or build our lab. You can have multiple computers. You can have multiple little network setups. You can have multiple switches. So you can tack in networking onto this, and there's a lot into that. You can also do virtual networking, which is usually cheap because it's all virtualized. If you have a computer that can handle some virtual stuff, you can all run it on the same machine. Outside of running VirtualBox, you could use if you have an old laptop, old desktop, old gaming computer you have just lying around. You could set that up and use it. You could download Linux on it and use that as your test playground. Um, I believe I have a video of installing Linux on a machine or something. So, what would I recommend here in setting up a new machine? So if you don't have any money currently, I would just use old machine you have laying around. Maybe this current machine you are watching this video on, you can use virtualization hardware. Or if you have some more money, what I would suggest you doing is getting a used server. So a bunch of enterprise grade servers. When big companies are done with their servers and they want to go get rid of them, they basically give them away for free. They need them recycled or something. And we have these companies that come in and grab them all up to recycle, and they either refurbish them or sell them back, to you or people, at a pretty low price. So go to your web browser, go to labgopher.com. And I'll bring this up here for you. So what this is a web scraping tool to scrape eBay for finding servers and good deals on servers. Maybe I should go back into use case on this. I don't know. So once you go to LabGopher, there's a lot of different servers here. So your use case might be different than my use case on this. To be very general and very broad, you're gonna if you want to do like a virtualization server, you're gonna want a lot of CPU cores, a lot of RAM, and a decent amount of disk space. So the more of those resources that you have, the more like virtual machines you can run side by side, and you can like have them talk back and forth and stuff on a network. And so yeah, that's one thing to do. If you if you are using if you're wanting to do like an AI model or something like that, you would want a lot of GPU power, and so you could get like a GPU server um, to handle all that stuff. And so, just real quick here, what I would suggest is going to once you're in LabGopher here, you have these little sliders for different options stuff. Here, let's adjust. There, a little bit better. So you can set a price range, 0 to 1,000. Sure, we can leave that. CPUs, I would start at 2. Yeah, 2 to 4. So a dual CPU computer will have more cores in there. This CPU pass mark kind of gives like a grade of each CPU. I don't know, it doesn't really work. What I would do in the memory slider here is put this up to, let's start at 192. So your biggest cost here, I would assume, is going to be memory, because it's pretty expensive to get a lot of memory like that, because you're buying a lot of DIMMs and putting them in the machine. So if you can buy the machine with memory already in it, that's usually cheaper than trying to buy your own memory. I mean, you could do that outright yourself if you want, but whatever. And then storage, I never really paid attention to storage on this because most of the time servers don't come with any storage. They'll just rip them out and they go in the recycling or whatever. Typically, I buy SSDs off of Amazon and just throw them in brand new because then you don't have to deal with it. But if you're going to look here for what we got, all right, so we got a Dell R720. It's not bad. A 620, there you go. So here's a server. Here's a 2U server. So servers have like a 1U, a 2U, and then like a 4U. So that's kind of like the height of the machine. Typically, they like a 2U is like a average size. You can run GPUs in it and stuff typically. And then a 620 is going to be a bit thinner. Here. They're going to be like half the size, right? See it. This is a 2U, this is a 1U. And so, yeah. So in here, yeah, you have your 2 CPUs here, right? And this is all your RAM. You have crap loads of RAM in here. So we're rocking 196 RAM in here. It's pretty sweet. This one also has, what, 256 gigs of RAM. You have your iDRAC. So what I have currently in my machine is a 620, which is like this. It's pretty nice. It's got dual Xeon CPUs. I think I have 40 cores in total, so two 20 core CPUs, 40 threads, 20 cores, 40 threads. I've hyper-threading enabled, and then yeah, I think I have 196 gigs of RAM too. So for like 300 bucks, that's not terrible. You can find them cheaper too. Let's just crank this down. Let's do start at 300. Yeah, there. Price with shipping, 250, 240 here for like an HP. I like Dell because they kind of their stuff works well with Linux. For the most part, you can get HP stuff to work with Linux too. But some HP servers you need HP hard drives to run in the server, and those are sometimes more expensive. So I typically run with Dell, and so yeah. So if you hop on labgopher.com, you can check out, um, you can kind of space these out to your needs or whatever. So that can be pretty sweet. Another cool website is the Server Store. Let's move my fat head out of the way. So this is a company that does refurbished stuff, and so it's kind of nicer, I guess, but it's gonna run you more money. And so if we go servers, so you can buy by brand, CPU type and stuff, or by like application, right? So you can buy like an AI server here, right? Has a bunch of GPU slots and stuff. Usually AI server is going to be really, really expensive, like $2,000. But typically they come with more space here. More space for GPUs and stuff. The Dell 620 doesn't really have much space for a GPU. You can probably fit one or two network cards in there, or a very small single slot GPU. But most of the time, these servers don't have power supplies to power big GPUs, so you can't have a lot of power draw. But you can get single board. You can get GPUs that don't require any power supplies. But yeah, you can also go here. Let's just go Dell 2U servers. Check that out. So boom. You can get these bare bones and then kind of pick and choose what you want in there. Some come with rails and whatnot. So I will say these servers are very large. They're like very long. They're like about this wide. I don't know, about as wide as your shoulders if you're a normal sized human being. And then depending on the height, will be like 1U, 2U, or like a 4U, pretty tall. And then deep is going to be like, I don't know, around 3 feet, 3.5, maybe. So they're pretty big. So if that doesn't appeal to you, I would suggest going to eBay, right? Boom, good old eBay. And you got right here, Dell PowerEdge. So you can get these in a tower. Check this out. It's basically the same motherboard as in the servers, but they throw it in a tower. So you can fit this on your desk, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. You got all these drive bays in the front. You can run, what, eight drives right there. Pretty sweet. And then it's around the same price. And if you shop around too, you can get way down there. So look, this one's 250. There, this one's 120 with $50 in shipping. But yeah, so just shop around. You can check out some of that stuff there. Getting to this next part, if you want to grow your lab to be very big, you typically want a rack. So what a rack allows you to do is allows you to stack your servers in a rack. Typically these racks, they're not cheap. They cost a decent amount of money, probably a couple $100, like $100 or $200 for if you find one used somewhere, all the way up to like $500-600 for a bunch of metal that just holds the computer up. But you can get them in enclosures and stuff like that. And they can also have a bunch of fans in them to keep your computers cool. This is basically an example of a rack right here. You have these big metal bars around the outside, and then you have like your computer stuff in the middle. This top portion is like a patch panel. So if you have a bunch of Ethernet in your house, you want to run it all to here. into your managed switch. Then you can control all your networking and traffic, stuff like that. Typically, you have like a firewall, so it blocks all your internet traffic coming in and out of your local network. This looks like a power supply, so you can have a battery backup or something in case of power outage, that your hardware doesn't crash out and you have corrupt files and stuff like that. And then, like right here is like a server, and then yeah, it looks like you have like some NAS, network attached storage, for sharing files and stuff, and then like a modem. So where your internet's coming into your house, you can have this all centralized in a rack. Some of these rack mount servers can get very, very, very loud. So they have a bunch of little fans in there, and if the computer starts getting really hot and you're running a bunch of stuff on it, it's gonna ramp up and be extremely loud. And so one way you can mitigate the sound is by putting it in a rack, and some racks have a bunch of doors and sound padding in there to kind of keep the sound down, and they also have fans to exhaust all that heat. So that's one way to control temperatures and sound from your machines. I do have a rack, and I have a firewall, managed switch, and a Dell 620. So I'm running Proxmox on that. I can make a video about installing Proxmox on the server in the future to show you how to set up a virtual environment completely hypervised, and you can have network controls and then a bunch of different virtual machines in there, and learn how to manage all that kind of in Proxmox. I wanted to touch on a topic. So you can build out different CPUs for different use cases. So virtualization, you're gonna want a lot of CPU cores and RAM and stuff like that. If you want to build an AI server, you're gonna want as many GPUs as you can get, and depending on your language model, you're gonna want a crap load of storage also, and fast storage. So the faster the storage, the faster you can train those AI models on all that data. So if you find a server with a bunch of drive bays and stuff like that, you're going to be able to put more SSDs in there and have way more storage. Also, with a bigger server, like a 4U server, you can probably stack 4 to 8 GPUs in there, because they have they're a lot taller and a lot bigger, and they build out servers specifically for like these use cases with a bunch of GPU slots and a lot of power. If you're trying to build out an AI server, it's going to be really expensive, and typically the machine is going to be really loud, because all those GPUs are going to be making all those GPUs are going to be taking a lot of power, and it's going to be generating a lot of heat, and those fans in those servers are high power fans. They're going to be blowing air like crazy through there. So just keep in mind when you're buying servers that these can get very loud. And so if you don't have a place to put them, like if you're planning to put these up in your living room, they might be very loud. You can find servers that are really quiet, and you can down tune them so they're very quiet. But yeah, just read into what you're buying before you get started. If you want me to recommend you something right off the bat, if you want something small, you get a 620, a 630, or a 640. So a Dell R620 3040. The difference between a 20 and a 30 and a 40 is how old it is. 610 was like first gen, 620 second gen, right? Third gen, 630, 40. If I was starting out, if I was you, I would maybe look for a 630. You can get pretty good CPUs there and a decent amount of RAM. I think they're on DDR4 on the 630. And then it's still going to be decently cheap, like around, I guess, 400, $500, depending on what comes with it. that would be a good starting point, I would say, currently. You can go cheaper. You can go to like a 620, get like a $300 or $250 server with decent enough cores. These are usually LGA CPU sockets, so you can put your Xeon CPUs in there. You can get like 4-core CPU Xeons with a way higher clock speed, so you're going to be able to do jobs faster, but you won't be able to have more virtual machines. The more cores you have, the more virtual machines you can spin up and stuff like that. But if you're doing an AI model, I think you don't need a ton of cores. You want a decent amount, I guess, but yeah, I think what a dual 4-core CPU would give you 8 cores, 16 threads, at probably a pretty high clock rate. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can spec these out to the nines. If you have all the money, then I would go outright and buy a brand new AI server. You spend a lot of money here. So yeah, but I'm just looking at the more budgeted option because I feel like this will be a better use case for most people. Yeah, so 620. If you want a lot of storage space, um, yep, Dell R720 or 30, the XD model. It stands for extra drive. So these, yeah, check this out. These are gonna have crap loads of disks. There's like, how many disks? 24. 24 disks. You can put 24 SSDs on here. And I think on the back there's like 2 more or something. So all in total, yeah, that's a lot of storage. So if you want to run a large storage machine, get a 720 XD or 730, 740, whatever. But you get that XD model and you have a lot of storage space here. Look, here's one 720 for, yeah, you got 26 bays right here. 26 of those. Each one of those is a hard drive bay that slides out. Yep, and then on the back you have 2 more right there. It's crazy. It's awesome. So 370, almost $400. That's getting up there, but yeah, you can't beat storage space on that. So if you want to run like true NAS scale or some big NAS, big storage media, that's your guy right there. That's what you want. All right, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. This is kind of my idea to help you find some hardware you can get your hands on and get your hands dirty, getting into it, start making stuff happen. So you can follow me on Twitch at PC Moses over on Twitch there. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube right here. Comment down below what kind of videos you want to see next, and if you have your own home lab running, let me know what kind of equipment you're using. I'm streaming on Twitch on Wednesday nights, so be sure to tune in on that. Yeah. See you in the next video. Thanks, guys.